Hello guys, we are back for the second part on how to create your web page. I have already opened the page we created in the first video. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to link here in the bubble so you can just go there, check it out, and then you can come back here. And right next to it, I already opened our Visual Studio Code with the code we did together. So today we are going to style the page a bit, and I'm going to introduce a wrapper element, a container that is actually the most important element to create your web page. You cannot even see it, but it's the most essential one to create your containers and your content area. Let's start understanding what CSS is. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it's the language used to style your web pages. It kinda refers to elements and says how it should be displayed in your page. And it can also be descriptive for different media, like on your screen. It can be responsive, so you can say how you want it to look like for mobile or in tablets or for desktop, depending on the resolution, on the screen width. And you can even say how do you want the page to look like if someone clicks to print your page. So you can hide some elements like the menu, because on a page, on a paper, no one's going to click on a menu, so you can just hide it and just keep the text and the normal content. So that's one use you can different use you can apply to CSS. So the first thing we have to do is create our CSS file. I'm going to add here a new file, styles.css. Okay, so here we have our CSS file, empty. So how the CSS works? A CSS rule is built. So to create a CSS rule, we use a selector, which refers to the element you want to style, and a declaration block containing properties, the name of the property and its value. There are many properties, and there's no way I can just show all of them to you. As you look for some purpose or some thing you want to do, then you should just take a look at the documentation of CSS to find how you can use that property or how you can do it. So of course I'm gonna show some of them, but there's many more, and the only way to actually get used to it and to remember all of them is just practicing and just checking the documentation. Okay, so what is a selector? So we can select our elements in different ways. We can just select all the paragraphs, we can select the headings, or we can give these elements some naming, and we can use this naming, these classes or IDs to select the specific elements. So let's start just selecting all of one kind of elements. So let's say that we want our heading H1. So H1 is the selector, and then we will open curly braces, and inside we type our properties and values. Okay, so let's say that we want all the headings 1 to have a color green. So this would make all the headings 1, which is this bigger one, in the whole page to have this color. Okay, I'm gonna save this, but we cannot see the effects yet because this file is not imported in our HTML file. So that's something we also had to do. Where do we do that? We do it in the head. That I mentioned before. It's where the method tag stays, it's where Imports from styling also can be added, and we are going to add our import here. For this, we open then our angle bracket, and then we use link, relative style sheet. Yeah, here is auto completed, so it's style sheet, and then href we use the path to where the file is, and that's in the same folder. So I'm just going to type the name. There you go. Oops. So this line of code here is importing our file containing the CSS rules, and this makes that the rules are then applied to these elements. And there it is. And there it is. And so now our heading is green. What we can also add here is, for instance, a position. We can say that we want text align to be center, and if we reload this, it's going to be in the center. So let's just type something here. Yeah, let's just change this. So this is a small page. Go, have it here. I'm also going to remove this title. If you don't remember what it is, it's just for the tooltip to show up when someone hovers an element, but we don't need this at the moment. Another way we can use selectors, another way to select different elements, is by using IDs. An ID is unique in the whole document. You cannot use it two times or 3 times. You can only use once. So this is mostly used when you need to select a single specific element for styling. For instance, you have styled all your heading once in a specific way, but there's a single heading that you want in a specific place to look different from the others. Then what to do, you go over there. I'm going to add an ID here in the H just for the sake of example. ID, and then we give it a ID. Let's say that's my special heading. Gonna save. And now here in the CSS file, we can select our element by the ID using hashtag. So I'm going to use hashtag special heading, curly brackets and curly braces, and now we can just define some other rules, like I want it to be red. And here we go, we have our heading that was selected by the ID, and I'm going to just type here something else as well. Let's say it's the about session or something like this. Yeah. Okay, so this is the ID selection, and remember, it can be only used once in the page. The other option is to say that an element belongs to a class. So let's say here that the class is blue. So this element belongs to the class blue, and then I come here to the CSS, and to define a rule for a class, we use period. So period blue, and we add color blue. Every single element that contains the class blue is going to be displayed with the color blue. So the class can be used in multiple elements. I'm going to use here and in this list element, for instance, and save it. And then we reload it. And here you can see that this element and this element, they are both now blue. We cannot do the same with ID though, because ID can be used in the whole page only once. Okay, so why CSS is called cascading style sheets? So it's because the different selectors, they have different weights. So for instance, if I use this rule, but at the same element here, I insert as well the class banana. Okay. And then I come here and then I add a rule for the class banana that says that the color is actually yellow. Let's see what happens. It gets yellow. That's because when you use a class selector, it has more weight than the element selector directly. And the ID is the heaviest one, so if you use an ID here as well and do some styling using an ID, then it's also going to override both the class for that styles that you define in the ID, both the class and the element styling. Okay? Oh. Good. So now let's talk about the most important element that you could have in the page, and that's the divisor, that's the div element. You cannot see it, but it's the most essential element to structure a page, to position your containers containing elements on different positions in your web page. So the first thing we are going to do is try to visualize your whole page as a box. And inside this box, you have small boxes positioned in different places containing your different sections of the page. So to create this first box, we are going to add here already the first div element. And I'm going to put all we have right now inside our first box. So all our page is inside this div. There's nothing different at the moment to see, but I'm already going to give this a class and say that it's the main. Okay? In case we want to give some background color or anything, this would be like the main container of the page. Good. So now let's say we want to create like an horizontal bar on the top of your page, like for a navigation, for a menu or something like this. So before all the other content, we are going to create another div session. Remember, this is just a box inside the box. And then you can define the width and the height of it. So I'm just adding another box there. And here I am going to create just some, let's use some heading 5 and say about and articles and videos and whatever you want, contact and so on and so forth. Okay, you're going to, okay, so this div I am going also to give it a class. I'm going to call it as the top bar. Good. And then for the rest of our content, we also create another box and we insert the content inside. So we add all of our page content in here. Okay, I'm going just to reload it so you can see. So this first box here, the top bar, is now this thing here. I know it's saying vertical. We are going to change that by using styling as well. So we are going to make it inline. And the second box, which is the content, is from here, from my small page and below. There's another, there's something that developers do when they are dealing with a lot of different devs, a lot of different components and elements, one on top of the other. Sometimes you have to position them in complex ways. So there's a little tip, just to help with the quick visualization of the spacing that these boxes, these dividers are using, we can then take these classes that we have already defined. So for instance, the main, which is the whole page, we come here, we just add a main, and then we put background color, and we give it a very easy to see color. So I'm going to make the background color of the whole page violet. That's the first thing that came that came in there. Okay, I'm gonna save it and show it to you guys. Everything is going to be. So this is the main div. This is the main box that we created here. Okay, this contains everything. Now I'm going to color the top bar. I'm going to come here and put top bar and use a background color of coral. Remember, this is just for visualizations, not to make it pretty. It's just to help us to understand the boxes, okay? Here we have it. So this is our first div, top bar. So you can see that it's just another box inside the main box. And our content, we can also give another color so we get it, understand the position, and Alice blue. Wonderful. There you go. So there you go. Every div is contained also by a margin and a padding. The margin is what stays outside of the box, like this little pink space that you still see from the main container. And so here would be the border of this divisor. This is the border, this is the margin, and inside here then would have the padding if we define some. For instance, I can define here even better. We can say that the padding is going to be 150 pixel. And then load this. And there you go. So from the border, inside there are 150 pixels, top, left, right, and bottom. And we can also, I can show also like margin top. We can do 100 pixel, and we are going to see the pink area is going to increase. There you go, because now you're further away from the first divisor. Okay, so I think you guys understood a little bit of how you position and you contain your main elements. I'm going to remove this banana class because it's just very hard to read. And I'm also going to remove this violet. I don't think we need this. We can leave it white. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so what we are going to do now, we are going to make these little elements for our menu in the horizontal line. To do this, we are going to use our class of the top bar, which is here. Inside the top bar, we want that each of the heading 5s stay next to the other. So to do this, we use a property called display. But first we have to select that element that is inside the top bar, right? So how are we going to do that? I am going actually to give here a class to each of these elements, menu item. I'm just going to copy and paste to all of them. And then I am going to use this one as well, menu item. And to position the elements on this one next to the other, we are going to use a property called display. And the value should be inline block. And using this property, we can see that they all stay next to the other. Okay, so there's something else that I'm noticing here. You see that there's still on the left and on the top there's still some spacing, and this is, it comes from actually our body. The body element, it acts as already as a component, as a container, so it has some default margins as well, and we are going to remove them. We select the body, oops, and we say that we want margin equals 0, and let's see, there you go. So now everything fits perfectly. So now let's also put these menu elements here in the center so it doesn't get too close from the border. For this we are going to style again our top bar, and we are going to align our text to the center. And reload, and here we have it. Once again, remember that all these properties that I am mentioning, it's just a matter of using and getting used to them. It's there's no, I cannot give you a dictionary from them, but you can definitely check the documentation out and just play around with them so it gets a little bit more natural, and you just remember them because you use them so much, so just get used to it.
Warning! Warning!
Okay, so what we are going to do now, I have to remove actually this huge margin that I added. I don't like that, and there you go. Now we have our top bar and our content of the page. Right, so let's say we also want to add another session of like a sidebar for, I don't know, newsfeed or for social media or whatever, and we want to add this here on the right. We are going to do that using Flexbox. That's a very important styling property from CSS, and I'm going to show you already. It took me a very long time to learn how to use it, but it's so simple. So we are going to do that. Okay, so here's our content for the blue region, and what we are going to do is we are going to create actually two dividers inside this content. So we want one divider for the main content here, and we want another divider here, divisor here for our sidebar. Okay, so let's add a divisor for the I'm going to call this wrapper content, and then we are also going to have another little box for our sidebar. I'm going to call this also wrapper sidebar. Okay, so in this wrapper content we just move all of this in there again. Oof. Oof. And here is our sidebar. For our sidebar, I'm just going to put, for instance, we can put our Pikachu. I'm going to put our Pikachu on the side there, and we are going also to give the border and make it look different. Okay, so let's just add our Pikachu. I don't want it as a link. I'm just going to copy the image we have already here. I'm going to put it here. And I'm gonna make this smaller to fit the sidebar. Okay, and we also just need like a title, right, or something to write there. Let's just say, let's add a heading and call it I don't know, newsfeed. Okay, good. So this is not going to look very good. It's going to look on one of the top of the other. Yeah, as you see, here's the first div, the wrapper content, and here is the second div, the wrapper sidebar. So what we are going to do now, we are going to put all this divisor next to this other one, so they look one by the other. Yeah, one next to the other. So how does this flexbox work? We are going to say that the main container of the content, which is a parent of the other two little boxes inside, we are going to say that this parent should be displayed. So property display flex. Okay, this simple. And then we save it and we reload it. There you go. Yay! So they are next to the other, but there's it's not using all the space, so we also had to fix that. I'm going to remove this padding. It's very big. I think smaller would be better. Let's see how this looks like. So I am going to select my element from the left, which is my main content, and we are going to add here property of the width. We say that we want to use 100% of the available space, and we are going to do the same for this other wrapper. What we can do here, just to say lines of code, since it's the same rule that we want to apply for both of them, we can just use comma and then period again and the other element that we want to style. So both of them now have the same CSS rule, which applies the width of 100% for the width of the divisor of the element. And here we have it. So we have here 50-50 for each of these divisors, but actually we want this one to be smaller because it's just a sidebar, right? So I'm not going to use this. I'm going to say that I want the sidebar to be only 20% of the page, and then this one can take over as much as it wants. So there you go. So now this is our sidebar and this is our content. To make it clearer, I'm just going to also give a background color. I'm going to say that I want this let me put like this greenish. Okay. And we can also add some padding to make it, to give it a little more space, because it's just too chaotic. I think 50 would be okay. Yeah, good. So one other property that we can use is, for instance, border, and that defines the little the border of the element. So to do that, we give several values. We give first the how wide you want this border to be. So I'm going to say that I want very thin. That's 1 pixel. We can also use like dashed, solid, pointed. There are different kinds of borders. I'm just going to say solid, and I want it to be the same color of the navigation, so I'm going to say coral. Okay, if I reload it, yeah, there you go, but it's too thin, so I'm gonna try it out with 3 pixel, and there you have it. So now this is the border, this is the padding, and what's outside is the margin. Okay, it's already looking interesting. So you guys also noticed probably that here There's this white space. This is the body, the rest of the body, which has no content in it. The content divider, it ends here. We were, where is it? Here. We were coloring the backgrounds to display our divisors, the position of it. So what I'm gonna do is simply, I'm going to remove this background color. Instead of using it in the content area, I'm going to use it for the whole page. So I'm going to use here in the body. Yeah, and we have now our whole web page looks light blue, Alice blue. Okay, I also think this is too small. We can also play around and say that we want this as H4 to see it get bigger. And we can also say here that we want our menu item to have the color white. Let's see how this looks like. We have something. And this is also not very pleasing to look at. Is there any better green out there? Gray. Golden. Let's see what this is about. It's like mustard color. Tomato. No, tomato. 10? Okay, yeah, it's okay. Good. So here we have it. We can also give a class to this newsfeed, like newsfeed title, and we are going to style this. I also want it white. Remember that every single property followed by its rules must be closed with with this little symbol, with the period, comma thing. I want this, and I want text align center as well. Let's see. Ta-da! There you go. That's how it looks like. Okay, so you can just go on and of course do much more. We can add like a paragraph. To save time, I'm going to come here and say running ipsum, and then we just copy something. No, here we just go generate, and then we copy and put here. There you go. So now we have some content, some text. It already looks more filled, more it already looks better with some content, some text in it. Yeah, great. So actually, to finish this, I also wanted to give you guys a challenge so we can you guys can practice a little bit, and in the next video I'm going to show one way I would do that. It's important to notice that actually there are thousands of different ways to solve anything in computer science and in development, and also using the divs, how you use them, how you use the CSS properties. So there are many different ways to solve the same problem. So I'm just going to give you a little challenge, and we check it out together next time, how I would approach it. And in this way you guys can also practice a little bit. What I'm going to do to help you guys is also to leave here down below in the description. I'm going to leave the documentation where you can check it out, further properties for the CSS to help you styling out. And yeah, so the challenge is you guys have to create a new section here below my small page containing 2 cards, one next to the other, also with an image each of your choice, And you can say like, I don't know, one about pizza, one about cheese, and then you just write a little bit about it, and they have to be one next to the other. And you can style them as you wish, but be sure to have also some borders, some background color, so we can distinguish them. And yeah, this way you guys can practice a little bit, and in the next video we are going to check it out together, and I'll show my approach. You guys, yeah. So good luck. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. If you did, press the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it, and bye.